Hey, how's it going, everybody? You're back with Neff for broadcast 3 of the weekly. Let's hop right into it. This first article I thought was really interesting is from Cosmic Book News. It's talking about the new series Echo that's on Disney. I think that literally is their latest series. So let's talk about it. I'll read the article, like the first, I want to say paragraph, and then I'll read the title off for you guys. Echo Season 2 in doubt at Marvel and Disney Plus. Viewership must not be that great. We have another big surprise, is now there is doubt surrounding whether or not Echo will be getting a season 2 at Marvel on Disney Plus. Marvel dropped all the episodes of Echo on the streaming service at one time on January 9th. I'll stop there. Like I said, with all these articles, guys, you can read that full article and a link that I'm going to drop in the description. So I will have the link to this article in the description. You can check that out if you want. I'll just talk about this a little bit more. Funny thing about Echo is, they kind of took the Netflix approach with this, Disney did, and they just dropped all the episodes at once. There wasn't a lot of marketing up into the release of this series, and yeah, like it says here, they dropped it on January 9th, all 5 episodes. The budget was $40 million for 5 episodes, so that hits about $8 million per episode. Still kind of bloated for what they actually put out and got out of it. Seeing as how they're thinking about not even running a season 2, I'm not surprised with this. The reason I'm not surprised is because, 1, they didn't market it well. 2, no one really knows about this character that much, especially the market that Disney's appealing to, the family market. And on top of that, I think this series had a lot of violence in it, a lot of more action scenes. So I don't think a lot of families are gravitating towards this series. On top of that, like I just said, no one really knows who this character is. I know that Daredevil's involved with this character, Hawkeye, Kingpin as well. I think they kind of use those characters as bargaining chips to get people to be interested in it. But I don't think it worked out for them, just based off the fact that no one cares about this character. No one knows about this character. IMDb, the rating for it is 6.1 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes is 7.1. Rotten Tomatoes is a little lenient on that rating there. But yeah, from the people I've talked to in real life as well, you know, they didn't think it was the greatest series at all. I think 5 episodes isn't even good enough to establish a character like this. Like I said, no one knows who this character is, and you put out 5 episodes, you know, this character hasn't been introduced on a platform to where she can even be standalone. I'm surprised they actually put this out like this. There's some information in here that you're going to see if you click the link in the article. It's going to show you some numbers for all the other series that they had on there. And it's going to show you top streaming programs as well, which I thought was very interesting as well, along with this article. But yeah, I'm not surprised as far as this season 2 thing not going well for Echo. Disney, we talked about this before. If they actually want to get back to getting viewership up and getting people interested in the content that they're putting out, it needs to be characters, on the basis of it, characters that people know already. $40 million for 5 episodes, it's a lot for 5 episodes. In totality, it's not a lot compared to what Disney usually puts behind projects. But man, if no one knows who the character is, good luck getting it off the ground. And it looks like they're not even going to get a second season. So we've already gotten bad news from Disney on multiple things. She-Hulk's not getting a second season. Echo's only been out for about 21 days, and they've basically said they're not getting a second season. So that's basically 2 bombs right there for Disney. Not looking good for them. Move on to the next article that we got here. Some more positive news here on the Disney end and Star Wars. Andor Season 2 gets exciting update. When will it release? I'll read a little bit for you guys. An exciting filming update for Andor star Diego Luna may indicate when Season 2 of the Disney Plus sci-fi thriller will be released. Andor Season 1 was released on September 21st, 2022 and became one of the most beloved Star Wars Disney Plus projects to date. Season 2 is confirmed to cover the years between Season 1 and the start of Rogue One. After it was first announced to be coming in 2024, production delays due to the Hollywood strikes ultimately caused the upcoming season to be delayed. Interesting. I heard a lot of good things about Andor. Like I said, I don't have Disney Plus, so I have not been able to see Echo or Andor, but I have heard good things from people that are fans of Star Wars about Andor. I think this thing is going to get released. I think there's a little bit of filming left to go. I think they said they got a couple weeks left of filming. I think you might be able to see Andor Season 2 coming out 2025, early 2025. I think that may be the projection, in the article as well, which I'll leave in the description. But I think that's an ounce of good news for Lucasfilm and Disney Plus, because as we've talked about before, Lucasfilms and Disney Plus has not been getting good reviews on any of the shows they've been putting out recently. Like I said, when you have a property like that, you don't have a lot of room to mess around, especially with that fan base. They want to see certain things and they're used to certain quality. Ever since Disney kind of took over, they haven't been putting out good quality stuff. Rogue One was great. That might be arguably the best project that Disney has put out since they've taken over Lucasfilms and Kathleen Kennedy's been involved. Andor, once again, it's a show that I think people liked. I didn't hear people ranting and raving about it, but I think people liked it in comparison to a lot of other projects that Disney has put out on Disney Plus as far as series goes. So I think when Andor season 2 comes out, maybe I'll invest in Disney Plus and I'll go run through Andor season 1 and run through season 2. Because like I said, I've heard good things about Andor. So it's interesting that, they've already got most of the filming done and they're going to come up with a release for it. But I think that's good news for them. That article is from The Direct. I got a lot of articles from The Direct. They got some good sources here. But let's move on to the next article, guys. Disney confirms 4 Marvel movies still slated for 2025 releases amid MCU delays. Alrighty, let's read a little more into this one. Following some big delays, there are currently 4 MCU Marvel movies expected to debut in 2025. Sadly, the same cannot be said for this year. 2024 will only bring with it a single Marvel Studios blockbuster film, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool 3. The movie, which will include all sorts of multiverse shenanigans, also brings back Hugh Jackman's Wolverine for his first crack at partaking in the MCU. That's interesting news right there. Like we said, guys, we've talked about Deadpool 3 multiple times. They're trying to finish up that third act. Let's see if Bob Iger can step back and allow them to do what they need to do to finish that. Like we've said, Deadpool's a movie they can't really play games with. If they mess with Deadpool, it's not going to look good for the MCU and it's not going to look good for Disney. I think you could see an all-out protest against Disney projects after that one. They got to leave Deadpool alone. You got to allow Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, anybody that's involved with that to finish the project and kind of do it justice and let them do it how they need to do it to have a successful film. And you want to have good press as well. You don't want to have that bad press going into it because we've seen before what the bad press can do to the perception of a film before it even comes out. All right, so let's move along here. I'm going to jump around this article. Like I said, guys, the article is going to be in the description if you want to read a little more into it. I'm going to jump to the second movie that they have on this list. The first one was the new Captain America, but I want to talk about Fantastic Four. Now it says this is supposed to be released in May 2nd, 2025. From what I've heard about Fantastic Four so far, they've gotten the cast together, I believe, but I don't think they've started filming anything, and I don't believe they have a full story or script written. So it's kind of interesting that they have this thing slated for 2025, and they haven't even gotten a script completed or even released a lot of information on who's going to be in the cast. I know they're going to bring back Silver Surfer. It's going to be a female this time. I believe it's going to be played by Anna Taylor-Joy. She's been in a couple movies. The Menu, I believe she's in Furiosa, which is coming up. That should be a good film. So I think it's going to be an interesting take. In my personal belief, I think Fantastic Four is one of those movies that they've just never been able to knock it out the park. There's always something that goes wrong. I think the original Fantastic Four movie was decent. I think they kind of messed up with Silver Surfer in that second film. And then they tried to reboot it. I don't know how that film went. I know there were some production issues with the, I believe it was the director was having some issues with the studio, and that didn't pan out as well. So I think Fantastic Four is one of those really delicate stories that you got to tiptoe around, and this might be the last time that they get a swing at Fantastic Four. If it doesn't work this time, I don't think you'll be seeing any more Fantastic Four projects in the future. All right, and the next movie we have is Blade, set for November 7th, 2025. Funny enough, Blade is similar to Fantastic Four in the sense that you're seeing a lot of negative press about the movie before it comes out, and there's a lot of confusion on what's actually going on with this movie. I've heard a lot of rumors that this movie has gone between 3 and 4 rewrites with the script. I've heard rumors that the main actor is frustrated with the script and the direction of the film, so I think Blade is going to be one of those movies that is already clearly in production hell and it's in limbo. I don't know if this movie is going to come out on November 7th. I don't believe they're even filming this movie at this point. I don't know much about the cast. other than a couple characters that they've actually named out, and it just seems like this movie may never come out. Honestly, I'd like to see Blade go back to his roots, like when Wesley Snipes was playing Blade. I thought those were some decent films. Trinity was all right, but I think the first two were pretty standout and pretty good films, and they don't get enough credit for actually opening up the Marvel Studios aspect of films. But Blade is a movie that I'd be interested in if they let it be original to its core and they don't try to manipulate the story too much to have it fall away from something that is true to Blade. Blade needs to be Blade. He needs to be a vampire. He needs to be a vampire hunter. We don't need to interject any political agendas. We don't need to change his sexuality or anything like that. And on top of my point, what does it matter what sexuality Blade is? It doesn't matter because it has nothing to do with the core story of Blade and his origin. So moving on. The next movie we're going to talk about, and they don't have a title for it, but probably would be the most anticipated out of all of these, a possible fifth Spider-Man movie. Let's see, it says Spider-Man 4 here. I'm not going to read too much of this because we know enough about Spider-Man. We're fans of Spider-Man. If you've watched any of the MCU stuff, you are a fan of Spider-Man. As far as Spider-Man goes, I know that Tom Holland, he's made statements saying that he's only going to come back to a Spider-Man project if they make it worth his while. I know they've kind of messed around with the Andrew Garfield return. As far as Tobey Maguire goes, he's gotten 3 films, and then he was in Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't think it's necessary that he needs to be in another Spider-Man movie. Could you have him be in another Spider-Man movie? I don't think it hurts because people like Tobey Maguire, and I think a lot of people like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy. I think the only one you could argue wasn't that great was Spider-Man 3, but I think the rest people will vouch for as far as Tobey Maguire goes. And Andrew Garfield, I think Andrew Garfield did a pretty good job as Spider-Man as well. I thought both his stories were good. I didn't actually see the second film. I believe it was Inner Electro, I believe. And I did see bits and pieces of the movie, but in its entirety, I didn't watch it. But I did see the first Spider-Man film. I believe it was The Amazing Spider-Man that Andrew Garfield was starring in. But yeah, I mean, another Spider-Man movie would be cool. We've talked about what Sony's doing with the Spider-Man universe with Madam Web and other movies, another Venom. So I wonder if they try to tie in Venom with another Spider-Man movie. I think that'd be a great way to, get people excited about Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man's always going to have traction and Spider-Man's always going to do well. That's like one of the only things that Marvel has left, Spider-Man. They can't really mess that up, and they haven't messed it up yet, luckily. But I think if they can find a way to incorporate Venom and Spider-Man in the same film, I think that could be a big blockbuster hit. And I think if they can do that with Tom Holland, that'd be great too. If they could do it with Andrew Garfield, that makes sense. But the thing is, you're going to lose continuity there because people are used to seeing Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So I think if you do a Venom 3 and you do have a cameo with Spider-Man or maybe a battle in the end between Venom and Spider-Man, that Tom Holland has to take that role over. But I think that's interesting information with Spider-Man 4. I don't know if you're going to get a Spider-Man 4 in 2025, honestly. I think they need time to come up with some really solid ideas, and they got to make sure that everybody is on the same page, because I would not like to see a rushed Spider-Man project. Every Spider-Man project that we've seen within the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years has been pretty good, so I don't think they want to tarnish that reputation that they have, especially Marvel, Sony, anybody involved in Spider-Man. But anyway, great article, guys. There were a couple movies that I did skip over. I wanted to focus more on movies that people are familiar with or the most curious about. So like I said, the link's going to be in the description. You guys can go read that article all the way through. There's some other movies on there that I think people will be interested in, but I wanted to focus on those ones. Moving on, the last article of today from The Direct as well. All of Us Are Dead Season 2 gets official release window. New info may have just revealed when All of Us Are Dead Season 2 will finally be released. The hit K-drama, which can be streamed on Netflix stateside, has been long awaiting its second batch of episodes as fans are eager to know what has become of the series' band of high schoolers stuck in a zombie apocalypse. Season 2 of All of Us Are Dead was officially greenlit back in June 2022, but since then there has been little in terms of word when the show would return to TV screens. Interesting. I've heard good things about this show as well, and it's going to be a show that I'm probably going to check out. I think the reason you might not be getting any information, though, it could be like the Squid Game effect, right? They shoot it in a different country. That country is not putting out a bunch of information. They want to keep the lid on it. They want to keep people kind of in mystery, right? Because let's think about it. In America, we're used to seeing all this information about the shows and movies way before they come out. So when we get to the movie, we know basically damn near everything that's going to happen. So it's not as much of a reveal for us, and it's not as enjoyable because you kind of know everything. So I think they might be doing themselves justice with this. But yeah, I've heard good things about this show. I'm not really into the zombie genre, stuff like that, but I think there might be something I might be interested in. Yeah, you know, if they've started like basically production of this show June 22, I think you can possibly see a release for this thing in 2024. I don't really see it going into 2025. I could see a fall release. I'm sure they're pretty much in post-production right now at this point. But yeah, I've heard good things about this show. So I think it'd be something I'm interested in. It's good they got a little release window there. It keeps people involved. It gives them hope. You know what I mean? And it keeps anticipation high. Because I think if you put out a show that's really good and you don't follow up with any type of information or another product right after that, that revolves around the show, people would just kind of forget about it. We talked about this with Rebel Moon a little bit. You know, that's a movie that got released and it got a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people were torn on how they felt about it. But as I said, it was important for them to try to get that second part released within 3 months. And from what we've gotten from Netflix, information we've gotten from Netflix, they say that Rebel Moon Part 2 is going to be released in April. So I think that's a good thing for them. People can fully judge it in its entirety rather than look at Part 1 and then fully judge it based off that. That's not the full idea. So I think the same goes for All of Us Are Dead. Even though it's a show, still, All of Us Are Dead, Squid Game, you want to keep that excitement up. If you put out a show, it's a hit show, but then you don't follow up with anything for about a year or two, people kind of forget about it. It can work both ways. But I like how they're kind of keeping it quiet. You know, it's going to be more of a shock when they actually put out a trailer for it. And I think people are going to be excited about this project. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up broadcast number 3 here of the weekly. All these links are going to be in the description to these articles. Please feel free to go look at those articles, read them in their entirety. They're great articles. Also, Popcorn Square Podcast, Mondays and Fridays. The weekly is going to be coming out weekly with me, Neff. So like I said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining. Please like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll be back for another broadcast soon. Be safe.